Hi there, I'm Danny Flexen and welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut ReFLEXions. We're here every Monday at 4:30 PM to review some of the action from the boxing weekend just gone. And it was probably the biggest boxing weekend of the year so far, certainly since the pandemic came upon us. This weekend we had a number of shows broadcast on TV here in the UK, and a couple that took place overseas, but we were still able to watch here. Kicked off on Saturday night with the Frank Warren show and the Sky Sports show, so we'll talk about both of those. The Frank Warren show took place at York Hall, but with no fans in attendance, as we've become accustomed to now, and saw Josh Taylor get a rather easy night's work. Rare for him, it's fair to say. He's had some grueling fights, but this one, he got rid of one of his mandatory challengers, unified super lightweight champion, with a left to the body very, very early on, less than 30 seconds, I think it was, against Apin and Kongsong. We thought he was going to be tough, certainly a power puncher, and Josh even said afterwards, still one of the biggest punches he's been in with, although, you know, he had to find that out very quickly because it wasn't long after the opening kind of salvos, sorry to turn all Ron McIntosh on you there, after the opening trades that Taylor found that left, innocuous looking shot at first glance, and dispatched Kongsong early. So yeah, we're not used to seeing Josh Taylor come out the ring with barely a bead of sweat on him, but I suppose he deserves a rare, easy night, and now we'll push on and hope to get that undisputed contest on with top-ranked promotional stablemate Jose Ramirez. They both want to fight. Top-ranked boss Bob Arum wants to fight. The only issue, really, and you know you can't knock him for it, is Jack Catterall, who's the WBO mandatory contender and has been for some time. He deserves his shot at Jose Ramirez, but we all want to see Taylor against Ramirez. So will it be a case of step-aside money? I'm not sure if Catterall will be keen to take that. Maybe it will be a case of Catterall fighting for a vacant title against another contender, and Ramirez Taylor going on for 3 of the 4 major belts, similar really to Lomachenko against Lopez soon, because that's not for every belt, but it's still a huge fight. We shall see, but Taylor got the job done in impressive fashion. Also on that card, we saw Charlie Edwards step up to bantamweight, albeit for now. I think for championships and so on, he's going to move down to super flyweight. Obviously, former WBC champion at flyweight. So moved up to bantam, had things pretty much his own way for the most part against Carl Williams, who's a good domestic level bantamweight. Had some success, but Edwards was in charge pretty much throughout and got the win on points. We also saw David Oliver Joyce. I don't want to say upset because I think a lot of people did fancy Inet Baluta to come out of the win, but he beat Joyce. I think it's 3 rounds, the stoppage. And Baluta's already coming off an upset over TJ Dehaney, former world champion. He's beaten Carl Williams, who we just talked about, on points. And I think a lot of people were favouring him going into the fight with David Oliver Joyce, who was coming off a loss, not in his most recent fight. He was coming off a win over Lee Haskins, but before that, coming off a loss in MTK's Golden Contract tournament. And at worst for Baluta, it looked like a 50-50 contest on paper. And he just proved too fierce, too insistent, and too strong for David Oliver Joyce in the end. Terrific left hook, started the descent, if you like. And yeah, he's one to watch out for if indeed he gets invited back to the UK. I'm not sure he's someone that managers will want their prospects to fight anytime soon. That was the Warren show over on Sky. That was on BT Sport, of course. Over on Sky Sports, from 10 o'clock, we saw the final of the World Boxing Super Series at Cruiserweight between Maris Bridis and Uniel Dorticos. It was a gripping fight throughout. I thought Bridis was a clear victor in the end on points. Just seemed to be a bit more work rate, I think was the main thing. Dorticos came back into things in the middle rounds. I think the main thing was that Bridis just threw a few too many shots. His movement was slightly better as well. Dorticos was always dangerous all the time. He was standing, big puncher. They both landed hard, clean shots at times. But for me, I just felt Bridis did that little bit more. Just had a bit more versatility as well, a bit more to his game. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. I'm not sure he's got any plans to move up in weight. But if not, is he going to stay? Is he going to try and unify at Cruiserweight? Obviously, the IBF belt was at stake in this one. The WBO, which we thought he'd won in the semi-final against Krzysztof Glowacki, controversial finish there, is now going to be contended for by Glowacki and Lawrence Okoli, hopefully before the end of this year. So maybe the winner of that against Breedis, maybe that's a fight that could be made, or even the winner of that against Dorskos, if not. But yeah, another gripping fight for the Super Series. Not quite to the level, I didn't think, of the Inoue Donaire or Taylor Prograis finals at the other weights, but still very, very good, very watchable. I think the one the show that will get most of the headlines today or yesterday, if there was stuff out on a Sunday, is the big one in the US in Connecticut that was on Showtime. And I think most people would now accept, even though $75 seemed a bit steep for the split pay-per-view show, I think people that bought it would have said it was worth it, with both Charlo brothers coming out victorious in what on paper looked at least close to 50-50 fights. Jamal Charlo up at middleweight managed to outpoint Sergei Derevianchenko. And don't get it twisted, this isn't one of those times where Derevianchenko loses on points, but it seems a bit unfair. It could have gone either way, as it was against Golovkin and Danny Jacobs. No, I think most people, if not all, would have had Jamal Charlo in a healthy lead by the end. He looked strong, he looked tough, fast shots, brutal shots at times. And there were occasions when he was beating up Derevianchenko, which if someone had told me that before the fight, I wouldn't have thought possible. But he looked really good, as good as he's ever looked, given the quality of opposition. Derevianchenko was brave and tough, and he certainly won some rounds, but he didn't do enough to win the fight. And he'll be a contender there or thereabouts at middleweight for the foreseeable future. But for Jamal Charlo, I think we all want to see him. That was his biggest test on paper, and I think we all want to see him in a really big fight now. So against the Canelo and Andrade, a Golovkin, one of those top guys, Billy Joe Saunders perhaps, if he wants to move back down to middleweight. But yeah, just looked really, really good. And looks to be a fighter who's still improving, more importantly. And his twin brother, Jamel, got the job done in a more explosive fashion on the same show in his unification contest against Jason Rosario. Got him out of there. I have to double check. I need to check these things just before I come on BoxRep. I think it was round 8, but feel free to correct me. Dropped him 2 or 3 times on way. Again, looked really good. He's got that only defeat to Tony Harrison, which was contentious. Won that back conclusively in the rematch, won his belt back, and now adding Jason Rosario's belts that he took from J-Rock Williams. Again, just looked really, really good. Everything we've come to expect from the Charlo brothers. Exciting, lot of flair in his performance, but toughness as well. Ruthlessness when he sensed the finish was near. Very impressive performances from both of them. We also saw, I should mention, John Riel Casimero on the undercard get through a potential banana skin in Duke Maika in just 3 rounds, and still wants that Naoya Inoue fight. So we hope that comes together, because that's one of the best fights that can be made in the lower weights, Inoue against Casimero. So I really enjoyed all the boxing action. It really lived up to its billing as the best boxing weekend of the year. I think it was me that probably gave it the billing in last week's video, but still lived up to my own expectations at least. Let us know what you thought of it. Whose was the performance of the weekend? Is it both Charlo brothers fighting against each other for that honour, or is it Josh Taylor for getting rid of a potentially dangerous mandatory so clinically and so early? Maybe it's Breedis for proving he's the best of the current crop of cruiserweights. God, that's not easy to say, current crop of cruiserweights, but I'd already started. I'd made the gambit. I had to finish it off. Let me know what you think, performance of the weekend, and what you'd like to see next for the winners, who you'd like to see them fight next time out. I'll be back on Thursday for ReFLEXions, and that'll be looking ahead to the next big show, which should be Joshua Buatsi, Marco Kalic, certainly over here. I haven't checked the BoxRec diary, but that's taking place this weekend on Sky Sports. And then the following week, there's a Frank Warren show featuring Liam Williams against Andrew Robinson, among others. And I'll be back for the next ReFLEXions next Monday, same time, 4:30 p.m. As always, really appreciate it. Hit me with your comments, and I look forward to it. Cheers.